Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Content Alchemy. Now, this is a very special episode of Content Alchemy. And if you are listening to this on just audio, what are you doing? Why are you listening to this just on audio? You should be looking us up on YouTube and finding us on the video, because you'll see that we all have our cameras off. We're being very secretive. And for a little surprise reveal that I think we're going to have in a moment. But I want to give you just a little rundown of what's happening. This is our special Halloween episode of Content Alchemy, and we are calling it Only Murders in the Marketing. I know. Bum, bum, bum. And with us here, as my guests are starting to make their little ghost noises, of course, I have Matt, our co-host, and then Drysen Carsten is back on the show. And I'm going to say back on the show, but he is going to be coming up in a later episode, because this is coming out before his other episode comes out. So, this is just you're just getting a little foreshadowing. Ooh, special you wonderful listener. But I'll have Drysen. Drysen, we're happy to have you on the show.
I am excited to make my official debut right here. Halloween, which is my favorite holiday of all the holidays.
Look at you. See? I mean, same. I mean, that's why we're doing this. And it also came out of a conversation with Matt, because both of us are big fans of Only Murders in the Building. Of course, this is our little satirical version of that. Which, by the way, I haven't watched the new episode yet, and because I've been traveling. But anyway, don't spoil it for me. Okay, good.
No,
okay, good. All right, we let's get into this. So, I'm gonna read this quick before
do we want to? Okay, you want to read it first?
Hold on. Right, yes, and then once the game has begun, we can all get in. Okay.
Trust the producer.
This is the rundown. This is the rundown, my friends. Matt and Drysen will be looking at case studies of different brands and deducing what killed them. I will be your storyteller, and I will be providing them with new clues to solve the case. Was it their brand film? Was it their social media presence? Was it an internal mutiny? And was it a quick death, or did they get to slowly bleed out? And could they be brought back from the dead? We have 3 brands, 3 deaths, and 30 minutes. Can they solve them all? Okay. Dun, dun. So I think we'll start getting into it, but that means the game has begun. So let's turn our cameras on at the count of 3. Are you ready?
Are
you prepared? Ready. Okay.
I think so.
I wasn't able to do as much as I wanted to, but we're going to try our best. Okay. All right. 3, 2, 1. Oh my god, you guys look so great. Drysen's actually terrifying.
Yeah, that is terrifying. That's pretty good though.
I thought you were at a local haunted house, and that is my favorite character. His name is Scrow, like Scarecrow.
Oh wow.
But I'll mix it up and make it a little more microphone friendly with the hat
You're
today.
A little more Indiana Jones now.
No, it's versatile, right?
Yeah. Look at you.
Yep.
Matt is our wizard and very on theme. I appreciate that.
You like this?
Alchemy. Yes, it's very good.
I spent a total of 6 minutes trying to find a costume, looking through my kids' costume bin, which is pretty extensive. So
nice. I was very disappointed. I just came back from the Austin Film Festival, which I'm sure we'll mention at some point in a different episode. But so I've been traveling and did not have time this morning to do a full moth look. But we do have the wings. The wings are on, and we have the antenna, and we've got a butterfly behind me that's dead on the wall. So we're here, we're living, we're vibing. But let's get into it. Now that we have all of our people together. All right. We are going to go into our first brand. This brand is called, or this company is called Vampire Kiss. Ooh. It is an accessible blood option to all vampires, from those still stowed away in their Transylvania castles to those kicking it in their one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn. It serves as an alternative to going out and actually sourcing the blood yourself, and you can get free shipping on all orders over $6.66. So there you go. This is our brand. This is what they do. Alternative, good blood option for maybe somebody that's a little bit more introverted, maybe somebody that doesn't want to go out and source it themselves. They don't want to go to the farm, right? They'd much rather have it delivered to them. It is, delivered straight to you, which Matt already does with his groceries. What's that?
I don't know if this makes vampires lazy or just very polite.
I think it is. I think it's very polite. It's the hipster vampire. Matt does this with his groceries, so we're already aware of this process, or at least he is. So One of the things that they did recently was they changed their branding from a nice, clean, see-through packaging to being all sealed up. You can't really see what's inside the packaging, with the intention of, maybe being able to we're not really seeing where the sausage gets made. It's something that's a little bit more covert. Also, the CEO has not been seen much as of recent, which is a little surprising, but they're trying to work through it. So they have been having some problems with their sales as of late towards their audiences. They're not quite hitting the alternative kids anymore. The people in the castles are just kind of losing interest. They're wondering maybe if there's a changing trend and it's better to go out. I mean, post-COVID, maybe it's better to go out and start sourcing things yourself, start going to the parties. But I'm curious, what would you guys do to kind of reinvigorate this brand as it currently sits with, their new packaging and a CEO that has gone amiss?
I would be curious what they're doing for current marketing efforts, because the unboxing experience is one thing, but how do people know that this thing exists?
Yes. So that's a great question. They are currently, they're on multiple different platforms. They're trying to kick things off on TikTok because they're trying to reach a younger audience, but they've also, been able to kind of over the last, century, work a little closely with word of mouth because vampires tend to talk, but we are kind of moving into that more introverted age of vampires on social media and, maybe not getting out there as much. So maybe that word of mouth campaign isn't quite working as well.
What does their competition look like?
That's a good question. I don't know. Probably not much. That's all you get. I don't have their competition. Let's assume their competition is a steak-based alternative in which you are not getting just the blood, you are getting more of a protein package as well, which might be a little bit more mortal as opposed to vampire.
A little more value sell. I am curious what those analytics look like from the conversions of their TikTok to their websites, and also what content is on their website. How does the website look? Is it well designed? Is it explaining what the products and services are?
I think in this world, not being explained as much. I think there's a certain air of mystery about this as the vampire has. So do you think maybe having that a little bit more of an over explanation would be helpful? And do you think maybe some of that, they've kind of gone, they had that clean see-through packaging to it all being very sealed up. Do you think maybe there's a little too much mystery around this product, if they need to be a little bit more open and honest about what they have?
Without diving super deep into our make-believe company here, my first thought would be, is that mystery and intrigue hitting with that audience? And if so, are they actually leaning into it on their social channels enough for people want to look at it? I could see where story-driven thing of hey, you look like even more undead, or you're looking better. What's your secret? And then, maybe they're chewing on the packaging, I don't know, you should come check it out. And then if those metrics are transitioning from the TikToks and everything else, then they know that those things are working, but people are getting lost on the website. Is the website designed well, where it feels professional, it feels real, or is it a little more sketchy, like it's, not been well put together? And then does it explain actually what you're receiving in the packages and explainer videos or brand films or that stuff to actually show this is what the service is, this is how it works, and then this is what you receive? Or is that not there?
So maybe seeing a little bit more of like, who are the vampires using this? Maybe kind of going that little bit of like an influencer route of, who is this person? Are they using it? Is their skin clear? Are they able to stay home? Do they have to go out late at nights having to, scavenge for food? That's not cool. That's not hip. That's like, it's raw and disgusting and bloody. You don't want that. So maybe there is a root in that.
Some eat a Snickers style commercials. Hey.
Yes, that's it. That is very good. Yes, that's a good comp. I like that.
So let's take this. This is weird. I'm trying my best to be serious right now. This is not working. Okay, so
don't be serious, Matt. That's not fun.
I can't do this without being serious. This is serious stuff. Okay,
serious.
We have to help the vampires. Okay.
The place where the place where I go, is a sales funnel, right? Mm-hmm. Anytime that there's like issues, I'm always trying to figure out like, okay, where exactly is that problem? And yeah, there's a lot of that qualitative, there's a lot of that quantitative data that I would love to know. From an attraction standpoint, if they don't have a huge like amount of competitors, mm-hmm. they probably don't need to do a whole lot to get that attraction. And I'm pretty sure vampires are also like really good at attraction.
It's true.
Remembering
so
correctly.
Maybe use a little bit of that power in there. Maybe they're not quite sourcing enough.
I don't think you can hypnotize other vampires though.
I don't know if we know the rules for.
I think in this world we can hypnotize and like we have like a certain there's a certain seduction, the je ne sais quoi, it's like a, they can like kind of wrap somebody in, but maybe we're more, maybe it's more of the seduction and the manipulation of broadcast channels and social media areas, and maybe the humans running some of these areas. That's more the opportunity.
So that's where this is going to get really important. I feel like live action is going to be a very important part mm-hmm. of their content strategy. Yes, I agree with the influencer stuff. So, okay, we're working our way down the funnel here a little bit.
Yeah.
And if we can have some solid influencers that have a good vampire base that still follows them, I think that's going to be important. One of the things that you talked about was the changing of the product packaging. And I'm curious if I can ask this question.
Yeah.
Were things going better before they changed the packaging?
I think things are kind of like they'd hit their kind of plateau at that point. And they thought, well, let's maybe try kind of a different strategy. Maybe we need to make it a little bit more modern, that kind of more minimalist design. So they went with something a little different, and it ended up hurting their sales.
Leaning into the murder mystery a little bit here, I want to know, did they change the recipe because our CEO is missing? Is it a different product now?
We do have a little bit of an update on the CEO. And it's not a good one, since we're asking about it. The CEO stepped away from his very, good company of trying to keep vampires off the streets. He was actually caught in a back alley completely consuming someone, and has since been removed from his position as CEO from the company. Mm-hmm. I know. Scandal. They have an extensive amount of bad PR now. So not only are their sales down, their CEO is gone, got caught, not so organically. Sure. It's not good. We're not sourcing the blood very well anymore. So, there's a question, an ethical concern. Where is this blood actually coming from? Now we've got a different issue. Now people are mad at us. How do you handle
This
that?
sounds like a full-on rebrand at this point, 100% pivot
Right.
to say, okay,
Yep.
we need to lean into the transparency side of things, just over-educate and say, this is where it comes from, this is where it's being grown or made or whatever else,
Yeah.
and this is the product you're actually receiving. I think revert back to the original clear packaging too at that point.
Do they go full on like political where they have an enemy though? Like is
They
the
haven't
people
as
that
of
don't
late.
source?
They have not as of this moment.
Okay.
Do you think maybe there is
I think it could be
a push?
I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, you almost need I don't know. It's not necessarily maybe it is a product, but some way to be able to wean people off of something. It's almost like they need something else to help with their social and authentic cause that they are claiming that they're going for.
So we've got authentic marketing, honest. And I will say, I think you guys kind of cracked it. That's exactly the direction they ended up going. The new owners who have taken over this company purchased it at a very, very low price, considering the problems.
Nice.
And are now taking it marketing as full vegan and are able to get a lot more younger audiences in. So the young vamps are kind of leaning more towards the vegan side. They've been able to hit the coastal cities quite a bit harder and are experiencing a lot better sales. But I think leaning into that, maybe that little bit more authentic marketing and where is the source coming from? I think you guys were on the right track. Congratulations.
Boom.
Nice.
All about asking the right questions.
Woo! All right. Second brand. This one is called Mummy Medicine. Okay. So this company has created a potion that will resurrect anyone from the dead. But as this happens, a competitor stole their idea, and now Mummy Medicine may be the ones placed back into their graves. So Mummy Medicine has been focused on the integrity and moral ramifications of their product, including class implications and such, since not everyone can afford to bring their loved ones back. So they've been a lot more on the morality play side of things. However, their competition has taken a much flashier approach. Take this so you can die over and over again, see the other side, and have enough time to make it back home to dinner. So Mummy Medicine has never really played with that kind of flash, that kind of flair. And they've been much more concerned with speaking to medical professionals as opposed to just the lay person potentially taking this. So what do you think right now could resurrect Mummy Medicine back from the dead? And I don't have a follow-up here. I just want to hear what you would do in your strategy to try and save them before they're murdered.
Oh, I love this. This is so interesting. Because that temptation to say, hey, someone else is owning this flashier space, we should mimic that is super tempting. But I think that's the wrong play, because if you can be first in someone's mind, you want to be first for that reason. You don't want to be on someone else's tailcoat. You want to be a trendsetter. So in this case, I think I would double down on the heartstrings type advertising and marketing, where you're really telling more stories about, we lost this person, but guess what? Now they're back. Or the more like the morality and side of it, less scientific. There's something about Febreze that happened a long time ago where Febreze was first introduced and it flopped. No one wanted to buy it because no one wanted to admit that their house smelled bad. And so Febreze had to pivot from, we fix your stinky house, to, we just make your finished products smell better. And I think there's something here with that as well.
Yeah. I would say one of the things that I would do is try to figure out where that positioning is compared to that competitor. So if they are on one end, I would probably be looking in that opposite corner. So I'm kind of almost imagining, as you were writing this, you were thinking of liquid death almost. in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, something a little bit flashier. It's water, right?
Yeah.
It's just water, but they position themselves in a way that is just really fascinating, eye-opening for so many people.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what is the opposite of that? It's not Aquafina, right? Like this is like my problem with like most of these like water companies. Like they're trying to be like, we're natural, and what are you drinking? It's a Gatorade.
Gatorade.
Looks like water.
It's close. It's close. It's a Gatorade Zero. It's basically water.
Right. It's really cloudy water.
I know.
So, but that's actually like a good example though, where like Gatorade had to fight water as well.
Yeah.
And they had to figure out like, okay, well, how do we position this? Like, how do we come up with a person that is for us?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, I don't know, like, yes, there is an overall market for mummy medicine, but I think what I would do is try to figure out, okay, who is a different audience that maybe is not captured by this other competitor.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily admitting defeat, and that can be a real big problem for a lot of companies, but at the same time, they can also have this ability to split their brand off potentially and come up with a new product altogether. They could take, if that one company has that one quadrant, could be interesting if they take the other three and say, great, we're going to do all of these now and see which one sort of is working the best.
So maybe there is a lot of opportunity to play in this of what is working the best for them. What kind of storytelling works for them? You know, how authentic are they looking to be?
I feel like if the competition is flashier, they're more appealing to your adrenaline junkies, which is you know, your Red Bulls, your Liquid Deaths, etc. But there's more stuff out there. So this could be appealing to your older generations of like, hey, you know, younger people don't die very often. So let's talk to the people that actually do have to fear about this. Hey, you want to live longer? This is now a immortality potion. It is now, you know, a spin-off of that there. But I do like the idea of tugging at the heartstrings through the different content marketing, where you're actually telling stories of you know, not this was Bill died, now he's back, but like, hey, this happened, and now because of mummy medicine, we get to have Thanksgiving dinner again as a family. I think Kroger did some really cool ads kind of in that style of like handing down, sharing things together, animation style, and I'm getting some of those vibes here as well. So yeah, I'm going to go with heartfelt storytelling.
That's great, because that is exactly what I wanted you guys to go to. It is, and also there, you mentioned too, Drysen, of appealing to maybe a different audience as well, of maybe going towards an older audience and kind of accepting that maybe that is the position you need to be in. If that's, you know, if the moral ramifications for you to try and get that younger audience is like, okay, just go keep dying, we're going to keep bringing you back. Woo. And that's not really what you want to do. There's a lot of safety.
Don't let this Thanksgiving be your last.
Yes. You know, and you know, that emphasis on family and coming together. And I think that, yeah, I think definitely being able to appeal to a different audience by being very authentic and honest about what it is, as opposed to the flash would be good, and honestly help this company to kind of remain happy and good and feel good about themselves in the way that they're marketing themselves.
I think everyone wants to feel sexy and fun, but not everyone can be that. So it's okay to explore other areas.
Indeed. All right, Matt, how are your are you
They're fine.
You're doing okay? Okay.
This is ridiculous. Let's keep it going. Let's go.
I am here for it.
This is our last one. Okay. And I wanted to kind of throw this in here because we've done a lot of work with insurance. And I think it's a really fascinating area, considering there are so many different kinds of insurance, including howling insurance. Now, every werewolf has the time of the month they need to let loose. The full moon is out. You know, it's time to shake off the human flesh, let the fur get kind of wild, right? However, sometimes werewolves get a little too loose. Now, I'm not a werewolf. I'm not going to judge. They're doing whatever they're doing. But sometimes they black out, right? And then all of a sudden, you're on the farmer outside town. You're on his farm surrounded by dead chickens that have been plucked and bloodied, and it's awful. And oh God, I've made such a terrible mistake. And now I am liable for something I wasn't even conscious of. I didn't know that I was doing this. I'm just a werewolf. I'm acting on instinct. But the rest of the world doesn't understand that. So Howling Insurance is the perfect insurance for all werewolves prone to this sleep morphing or not, in which they are maybe blacking out. Because, I mean, we all have the potential as werewolves. Not me, I'm a moth. But as other people, as werewolves, you may have a little fear. There's something there to it. But unfortunately, Howling is not meeting their desired goals. The branding isn't quite reaching what people are looking for. They've kind of gone more of like a healthcare focus of like lab coats and syringes, which they're not quite sure if that's really the direction they should be going, considering that this is kind of like an accident insurance. They are present on social media, but haven't really been able to find their spot quite yet. They've done a lot of more just like informative, live action, just quick content created in-house. But that's really what they've got going on. And they're really trying to reach this market of werewolves that have maybe dealt with this for centuries and are finally looking to have someone that's got their back, even if, their back is fuzzy and in the moonlight, somebody's there watching out for them. So what do you think is the real root of Howling's branding problem, their marketing, their audience reach, and what do you recommend they do to transform their brand? Preferably under
taking
a
a
moonlit night.
first step. Say it again.
Preferably under a moonlit night in which they are having this transformation. But continue.
Taking a stab, I would typically go through the process of what are your metrics on social, what are your metrics on the website, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
But I really feel like we've got a branding problem here. If you are lab coats and professional, like we've got the science to fix this, that's great, but you're not selling science, you're selling insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather lean into, especially I'm assuming the people that black out are probably more the rowdier werewolves, the one that likes to be a little more fun and cut loose as opposed to your more reserved, we're just going to flip a table and nothing else werewolves. We're not murdering any chickens or anything like that. And so I would like to see a marketing effort or campaign really leaning into that, the humor of not again, waking up, butt naked in a field going, I said I'd never do this again. And so those kind of comical storytelling, relatable moments, I'd like to see more people relating to that, to inspire that curiosity for people to then go to the website to learn more. But then that has to continue. It can't just be, hey, we were fun on social, but then now we're boring on the website or wherever our online directory is. So we still have to continue that personality where we're engaging, we're entertaining almost more than we are educating.
Well, and I think that might work very well for kind of general werewolf mentality as well. Because I mean, at the heart, it's a very dog wolf like heart. There's a lot of freedom in there, but we're prowling. So maybe there is something to go towards that. Maybe you're having a little bit too much fun, but there's somebody there that's got your back, even if you don't think they do.
Howling Insurance.
Ow!
I can't get over the writing involved in all of these. But let me try here. So
I had a
this
lot of
Howling
fun
Insurance,
on a plane, so
I can tell. I can very much tell. It covers them for if they are make a mess of things.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
So
Okay.
whether that be, going off and killing a few chickens outside or maybe something else, just trying to keep all their bases covered. Since it really is, it's something they can't quite control. I mean, for an urge that they don't know. I mean, how is that?
Yeah.
How is that litigated? How are they protected?
How are they protected?
How are they protected? Oh,
There's our tagline.
that's great. That's a really good tagline.
Yeah.
How are you protected?
Pun.
Boom.
I think Drysen's right. I think it's a branding thing. Well, let me ask this: like, how important is it? Maybe this is relevant. Maybe it's not. But I think that a lot of this stuff, a lot of the real world stuff that we face here, it is asking the right questions that don't even feel right necessarily in the moment, but you never really know what the answer is going to be.
Yeah.
So let me ask this. How important is their anonymity in this whole thing of this insurance? Like, okay, so if it kills the farmer's chickens, does the farmer know then that they are a werewolf?
Yeah, I think in this fictional world, yes, the werewolves we're out and about and we're accepting, but we're not very tolerant of maybe some of the actions that they have.
Interesting.
It's like
So the insurance company says, hey, you lost 4 chickens. Here's some money.
Yeah.
And that's
it. Well, and like being able to protect the werewolf of, I mean, it's accident insurance.
Okay.
That's, I mean, if think about it, like if you hit another car, I mean, obviously it's your responsibility. You're the driver. But
you can have liability to fix their chickens or full coverage to fix your personal injuries.
This sounds so expensive. I bet you this insurance is not cheap.
It is definitely expensive. So how do you, I mean, werewolves are probably, oftentimes in society, the vampires tend to be a little bit wealthier. The werewolves, not quite so much. So how do we make this appealing when it is something that would probably cost a werewolf quite a bit more than maybe they would like to spend?
Yeah.
I think there has to be that comedy factor, that entertainment factor, but it also has to have a little bit of shock value of, maybe chickens is not expensive enough, but now we've got, tore down an entire barn in our world, or we murdered one too many villagers. Oh no, that's way more expensive than 4 chickens. I might do that because I'm a crazy vampire, maybe, or a crazy werewolf. So maybe I should probably spend the extra silver.
I love that you said silver. Very good. It worked right in.
Oh God, this is exhausting. I can't.
It's my first day back in a week, and this is what I'm giving everybody.
I haven't talked to Shelby in over a week now, and this is our first time back, and I cannot keep up. This is great stuff.
I'm
howling
here for
insurance.
I want to do more of this. So I would say an awareness campaign is probably going to be their biggest thing. Changing the branding so you're not appealing to the science side of things, but more that entertainment side of things with a little bit of shock value to it, and then continuing that entertainment on their website to be fun, engaging, appealing. I don't really have a great example for this one here, but something fun, because insurance inherently is not. So let's flip that upside down and make it that way.
I do like that though, because I think oftentimes the first instinct is, let's try and make this really personal, without a lot of the funnier aspects to this, of what could be a funnier aspect. I mean, dead villagers are dead villagers, but maybe not so funny. But if we could present it in a lighthearted manner, maybe in this world, it's not quite so bad. So I do think that's very interesting, because it does kind of go against the grain of what many other insurance companies would possibly go with. Maybe it really is about that audience.
And this is where we get a brand collaboration between Mummy Medicine and Howling Insurance to say, oh no, did you do this? You need this. This is expensive. And so
that's a great point. Does Mummy Medicine bring back dead chickens?
No. Unfortunately, they're still kind of working more within the realm of, human mummification. But I don't think they would be opposed to doing the research into it.
Interesting.
Chickens.
That would be one way to get the insurance costs down, I would think.
Maybe there is a brand deal to happen here. We've got a little collaboration. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So that is our solve for Howling Insurance. It is to make it thoughtful but fun, and then maybe team up with Mummy Medicine. That's great, though. I mean, if we are their agency, right now, and this is how we would approach these things, maybe that's a good opportunity for us to bring these two groups together, and have a thoughtful conversation between both, and facilitate some good, healthy conversation. I think that'd be great. especially between mummies and
Well, hold on a
werewolves.
second
I
here.
mean, how often are you seeing that?
Right. Let me throw this into the mix here.
Yeah.
If we are their agency, I'm curious how much the team would want to work on something like this, right?
It's a very good question.
Because these are some topics that can be pretty divisive, I would think, maybe.
Well, and maybe it kind of depends on the diversity of your team too in this world. I mean, you've got a moth. I have no stake in the game for this. Lucky you. But I'm willing to I'm just following the light. So, that's my motto.
Did you write this?
No. This is me.
Every single thing that you have said this entire time feels like you planned every word of it.
I was just at a film festival and hung out with writers for a solid week, so now that's how my brain is definitely
inspiration high.
Yeah, we're working, but I mean that is a good question. I mean, Matt, as a wizard, I mean, do you think you would feel uncomfortable with this? I mean, some of these things you could possibly have the power of fixing yourself. Wouldn't that be interesting? I mean, maybe they aren't even really worthwhile working on for you because maybe they're not interesting enough.
They're what I would say is things that people, werewolves, vampires, mummies, if this was something out of their control, then I feel like it is a place for us to be able to help them.
Yeah.
Now, if they chose to be a vampire, I don't know. Like, that might cross some ethical lines.
Interesting.
But also with the vampire stuff, they're trying to get people away from going out at night and feeding on humans. So I can get behind that. Mm-hmm. The other two, werewolves, they can't control that. So I think we should be there to try to help them any way that we can. So
agreed.
How
do you feel about bringing people back from the dead, Matt?
Let's see.
Thoughts, opinions.
Doesn't matter.
I think that crosses some ethical lines.
Yeah.
I do. Of the three brands, I would probably be not as for that one more than the others.
Interesting.
But I would say it depends on kind of like how we present it. I mean, I talked about some like the political stuff before. One of the things that we generally stay away from is political stuff.
Yeah.
Not that we're necessarily against working with politicians.
Yeah.
But it depends on how we sort of tell that story.
Yes.
And I don't like the idea of ever being like making content that's like against something else. I think that kind of paints you in a really, really negative light, and you don't really want that. So this kind of gets into the whole PR side of of marketing, I guess.
And your own personal PR, not just theirs. Who is, made by things in the moonlight. What's happening there,
Okay, I'm done.
That's a good question though, because I think that's not something that you talk about very often, is like being selective about those things. And maybe that is something to think about. Interesting.
Yeah. Ultimately at the end of the day, like, if we are to work on something, again, it is a conversation that we generally have on our team, is like, all right, hey, listen, here's the brand, here is generally how we want to present it. Like, how are we feeling about this?
Yeah.
I don't think that we've really ever had like everyone. I think I've always had a pretty good read on like, all right, we could do this, or we're probably not. But I don't think there's ever been a time where I've been for something and everybody on the team has been against it.
Yeah.
Not directly anyway, but it kind of helped us craft, like, okay, it kind of develop a set of rules for, okay, if we do work with this brand, what are we okay with and what are we not okay with?
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's interesting.
So here's kind of a fun spin on our conversation then today, because we talked a lot about identifying problems and trying to figure out what went wrong, but what we at Made by Things sell is video and content. So how does our services align with solving some of these problems, in your opinion, Matt?
That's a great question.
I was just going to ask that question because I do want to know in this, what would you be most excited about making content for? Where do you think you could have the most impact of these brands?
I guess the first thing that I'd say is it's a bit early still to kind of make some of these decisions. There's so many questions that I would have. I guess here's the first thing. The first thing is that video content's not always the answer.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes it's something else. And we kind of discussed it. Like some of these cases, it was more of a branding issue. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the ways that I like to go into any problem that people have. Like sometimes they're like, hey, we need like a bunch of video content. And for me, I'm like, all right, let's do kind of in an ideal world, we're doing our content roadmap workshop where it's like, all right, we can now kind of walk through exactly what's happening. Like, let's get beyond the surface level stuff and let's really dive into what's going on. Let's get perspectives of different people on the team. That's where this is kind of flawed, right? We're only getting one perspective and we don't have the full picture, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's where it would start, is trying to understand what the actual problems are. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily just what is happening. But I would bet if any of these three companies you talk to more of the people internally, they would have different thoughts on why some of these things may be happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, we talked about different things like leadership could be an issue.
Yeah.
If leadership's an issue, content's not going to solve that.
Yep.
And while it is difficult to do, there are times where we're like, all right, we're not the ones to solve this for you. You should do X, Y, and Z instead. Now, all of that being said, of the three options, what was it called? Vampire Kiss?
Yeah.
That would probably be the brand that I could get behind the most. Mm-hmm. That I would probably be the most excited to work on. I feel like there's a lot of potential, a lot of opportunity there.
I think so too.
Drysen?
I'm going to 100% agree with everything you just said. Because you're right. You need to have these conversations. You need to like look into data. You need to figure out where these problems actually are before you say, we've got the medicine for it, because we don't know if we're actually treating a symptom or the root cause. That said, my personal favorite stuff to work on is always going to be that trust building stuff, especially if it can be entertaining and fun. So while social media might be the beginning of the pipeline, or they to capture everyone with mystery or intrigue or humor, you can make a lot of money on social, or you can lose a lot of money if you don't do it right. And I'd rather focus on building the systems on the website or internally, so that when people do find you, it's more likely to work. Yeah. If we get someone if we do a great social media campaign and then someone goes to the website and it sucks, it's bad design, it doesn't make sense, people don't understand it, and they know what the product is, they're not going to buy. So I'd rather devote my time into building that infrastructure between, explainer videos of different product lines, between, if they've got the immortal potion for the mummy, whatever it was, mummy medicine, or if they've got, the be back for Halloween next year type thing. I want to figure out what product line that is so I can self-educate, and then have more videos talking about what each product does, the features, the benefits, and so I can self-educate and figure out what ones are going to be right for me before I talk to a salesperson, before I buy anything. So I want to get all that infrastructure in place and set up properly before I worry about the attraction phase.
Right. I would say that I think that a lot of people, a lot of like agencies might try to come in and be like, yeah, like we have the solution. Like they have the solution in a box and they're like, hey, here it is. Like, and they try to force that thing upon brands, right? Because they're like, all right, we have one solution. So if you come to us, there's only one real answer to this stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's what we sell. Is that one thing.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's always, it's try silver bullet, damn it. But I think that's one of the most important things that I think it's almost our responsibility of our jobs a bit, again, is to, yes, we can look for our solution, look to see how our solution works in something, but we also need to be aware that it's not always the right thing, right? And it kind of goes back to like a lot of like that trust building content you're talking about, where in all three of these brands, they need more of that trust building content. But it's also when people like us or an agency comes in to create that content, how long does it really take for them to adapt the terminology, figure out what the great stories are to tell? Like, you can't just like walk into a company and again just be like, oh, we know everything about you. Like there is a process to do this stuff. And that's one of the cool things about like this trust building content is like I always love to hear this straight from other people's mouths. Like I don't want to like script something. Like we're not gonna be able to, we don't know this stuff as well. Sometimes we just go without the script altogether. Mm-hmm. And if it was some sort of interview or something like that, interview with the vampire.
Nice.
Yeah, I was weak, but
it was good. It was good.
It was okay. All right. But yeah, so it's, yeah, I think so much of this is just about building a relationship, right? And
it's Twilight. I agree. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm going to be super transparent here. I love money. I love selling things. I love making sales. But at the end of the day, it's way more important for me to build a relationship that's actually going to help somebody. Because if I just take your money and run and we make a video, but it's not going to help, then what was the point in the first place? So 100% what you said, Matt, where you have to have these conversations. You have to build that relationship. You have to dive in and actually help somebody. And if we're not the right fit, we're not the right fit. That's the bottom line. And having the ability to say, you know what? We can't solve this. Here's what we can do, but you got a bigger problem.
Do you feel like going back to that vampire kiss, do you feel like you could have a good connection with them and start building that relationship if they were really willing to like dive in, do the work, figure out what's going on? You know, even if maybe they're vampires, maybe you're a potential victim, but there's a level of trust there.
We would only be doing video calls. Again, we have our rules in place. I wouldn't put my team in harm's way.
Yep.
Unless I had howling insurance.
Doesn't cover vampires, though. We have to get a whole different insurance.
Oh, geez.
I know. This is...
I'll tell you what.
This is such a mess for you, Matt, on an HR side. Oh.
It is. It really is. That's what I keep going to here. One of the things that I always try to do is figure out what that common ground is. Mm-hmm. So with Vampire Kiss, it's like, okay, no, we aren't necessarily vampires. I'm not anyway. But
spoken
if
like
we can figure out like,
vampire.
Okay, I am not a vampire. But what I want to do is try to understand them well enough to where I can see like, okay, where in my own life would this sort of like fit? And I think the easy place to go would be if it is like a vegan or vegetarian option, something like that. Like I can understand why you would want to go that direction. And I try to put myself in those shoes specifically. And again, I guess that's why I go with that product specifically, is because I feel like I could put myself in those shoes a little bit easier than the others.
I like that.
What do you think, Shelby?
I also would. Drysen was sick of
We
us.
lost
He just
Drysen.
left. I'm gonna keep
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, go ahead.
I also think Vampire Kiss would be a great one. I do think there's a lot of opportunity in mummy medicine, but yeah, I mean there is a lot of like moral implications with that. And maybe it does depend. I mean, I'm not a mummy. I don't know. I'm just a mom.
Listen, Big Pharma.
Big
Pharma.
Pharma. How do you?
I don't know. I feel like it would be going down that same path. You know?
I think you probably would be. But I think like in Howling Insurance, I think also a lot of really great opportunities there for, you know, a group of individuals that maybe can't quite control this, and being able to really step in and help in some way, I think would be great. So I think, yeah, those, and that's one of the reasons I went with this, is because I wanted them to be that kind of like ethical space.
Yeah.
We are in a murderous podcast currently. So, you know, if we have that vampire kiss, which has suffered some problems, and a murder, even a real one, that's frightening. But to be able to kind of bring that back with maybe some new people that are trying to do something great, you know, that's something I would want to be a part of.
Yeah.
Cool. We've lost Drysen, but I think, do we want to hold on for a second and see if he comes back?
No, let's
okay, we'll just
keep
wrap.
it. Well, we need some mummy medicine for Drysen.
We do need some mummy medicine. He is unfortunately gone. Who knows where, out into the ether somewhere. He's a ghost now. I almost said, like, when you said that my Gatorade looked a little like whatever. I don't know what exactly you said, but it's
Cloudy.
Like it's ectoplasm. It's cool. It's like, you know, it's like the cool drink that like ghosts are having. So, you know, it's fine. But anyway, so I think this is our episode for the day, and I hope everyone has a really, really special happy Halloween. And thank you for checking out this little random side quest episode that we decided to put together. But I had a good time putting it together, so obviously.
Yeah. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yes, happy Halloween, and all right, everybody. I'm going to have Matt say our little end bit because he is the wizard today. So,
yep. Everyone out there, stay magical.
Content Alchemy is presented by Made by Things. To learn more about us, check out madebythings.com. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss, send us a message at alchemy@madebythings.com.